Joining us now from Los Angeles for analysis of this weekend's political news is special correspondent Jeff Greenfield. Jeff, good to see you.
Hi.
So earlier this week, the Twitter sphere exploded when two celebrities, Shania Twain and Kanye West, said nice things about President Trump. And you say that there's a connection between all of that and what's happening with North Korea. Explain.
It may not sound at first blush to make sense, but it's part, I think, of the whole overhang that has dominated our political atmosphere recently, which is tribalism. Pick a side, put on the uniform, and that's who you root for. So here's what I mean. All right, we know that the picture of the two leaders of the Koreas doesn't mean that it's a done deal. We know that in the past, we've had deals where the United States has become Charlie Brown and North Korea has been Lucy with the football. But still, when you compare where we are now to, say, a year ago, with North Korea throwing missiles into the Pacific and the president talking about fire and fury, this has got to be seen as a step forward. And it's even plausible that some of the credit belongs to the president for his rather unconventional approach to bluster and then diplomacy. My question is there anybody on the really anti-Trump side of the spectrum who's even willing to say, okay, on this one, I think the president deserves some credit? And the connection between the celebrities that you mentioned was any word of praise for the president draws this absolute outrage from people who find the president absolutely irredeemably bad. And I think we're going to see an interesting political version of that is that will any of the Democratic contenders for president, will any of them say, yeah, on that one, I think, the president may deserve credit, or will that almost by definition rule that potential candidate out?
We saw this tribalism on display this week at the White House and on Capitol Hill, right?
So the president has his first state dinner this week. And the word state is key because in that role, the president's not a politician or a party leader. He, or someday she, is the embodiment of the state. That's why every state dinner that I can think of has always included members of the opposition and even a smattering of journalists. This one, not a single Democrat, not a single journalist. Then you look to Capitol Hill, where the House chaplain resigned under pressure from Speaker Ryan. And while Ryan says this isn't the reason, that chaplain had given a prayer during the tax cut debate saying the tax cut should go to everybody kind of equally. Then you had another congressman saying, next time we should have a family man as chaplain. Well, if you have a family man as chaplain, that rules out the Catholic clergy. Whereupon the Democrats took to the floor to denounce this, and now the issue of who's going to be the House chaplain becomes a political issue. It's like nothing is exempt.
And finally, Jeff, we want to get your take on that White House Correspondents' Dinner last night.
I'm so old-fashioned that I think it is possible to be generally very critical of Donald Trump and still take umbrage at some of what was said last night. And I was struck by the fact that after some criticism of Michelle Wolf, there was this outpouring on Twitter saying, oh, I see. You people are silent about all the terrible things that Donald Trump has said and done, and you're criticizing a comedian. Now, call me madcap, but I haven't exactly seen a lack of criticism aimed at Donald Trump for the many things he has said and done. And on the other hand, you've got, supporters of Trump ridiculing this comedian, while at the same time being perfectly content with the kind of language the President of the United States has used for the last year and change, calling his opponents everything, from crooks to dumb to, I can't even go through all of the list. But the general theme I'm getting at here is that it's almost impossible now to have what I used to think of as a debate about issues where people cross over, not necessarily echoing whatever line their side is pumping for the day. We seem to be beyond that for the moment.
All right, Jeff Greenfield, thank you as always for being here.
Thank you.